This week we are refining, and we are talking about your brand style. And also, when we're talking about your brand style, it's not just the pictures, as we talked about, it's how people feel, it's how people talk about them. We have to talk about your place in the market. So before you panic and think, oh my God, do I have to pick a niche? Freaking out. Just calm down. Calm down, okay? You don't necessarily have to pick a strict niche. You don't necessarily have to pick a strict ideal client and only work with them. What I want you to think about is, where do you sit in the market? And by the market, I don't mean the stock market. I mean you and other people who offer what you offer. There is kind of like, a curve of the people who are really, really low, the people in the middle. There's like the most people in like the middle average pricing, and then the super high end, offerings. So you can see this if you look on Instagram, if you look, Google what you do, right? So I would Google brand photography, Calgary, Alberta, and look, okay, what are the options? Like, who else is out there? And am I sitting kind of in like the low area price-wise, and how it looks in like the middle of the road, or am I in like the higher end? And then this is the part where you're going to decide, so much of your branding is going to hinge on where in the market you plan to sit. So a lot of people think, well, obviously I want to be at the highest. Just pause for a minute, because in my never to be humble opinion, if you're going to charge elite prices, if you're going to be at the top end, then the systems have to be fucking slick. They have to be worthy of those prices. Your branding and your images and your video have to be professional and slick and like the top end, all of it. Like, you will never see a luxury brand with shitty marketing. Okay? I am not saying that you have to be a luxury brand. What I'm saying is, you need to be realistic with how much time, effort, and money you're going to put into your brand, and where you're going to put yourself in this market, right? So this is not an exercise in trying to make you feel bad or good or anything, right? Maybe you want to be really accessible. Maybe you want to be in the lower end of the price range. Maybe you love making your own content. You don't want to spend a bunch of time on it. You want to be able to offer a really good entry point so almost everybody can access it. Your mission is that you want to be the person that anybody can hire. Doesn't matter your social, economic, any of that. That's where you want to be. Perfect. Great. So then let's make sure we base your brand, colors, looks, fonts, everything around being super accessible. So something that, most people can find palatable and enjoy. A price point that most people can afford. Obviously, not everybody can afford everything, but you know what I mean. So maybe your branding is going to be, something that is not polarizing, because you want it to be for almost everybody, right? You want it to be relatable for everybody. Maybe that's you. Maybe you're more in the middle. Maybe you're like, I don't want to try and be the best of the best. That's too much pressure for me. Fuck that. I want to be right, steady in the middle. I want to be accessible for most-ish people. I want people to be able to really relate to me. I want people to be able to afford to hire me more than once. I want this to be something that people can do over and over and over again. I want them to, really be able to see my content and be like, oh yeah, I relate to that. I feel like I can work with that person. I want it to be really personable. Cool. Great. Maybe you want to be more in the luxury brand region of things. Maybe you want it to feel a little aloof. Maybe you want, also pause here, you don't have to be aloof to be a luxury brand. My photo and video services are definitely in the more luxury section of things, because I don't just work with, anybody. I want to work with the best of the best. But I'm very personable in my communication and in my social media, so they know who I am. So those things don't have to go together. But generally, when you're looking brands up, there's a little more separation with the higher end stuff. And that's just, I think, a trend. I don't think that is a fast rule that has to be. But if you're gonna go after the luxury market, you gotta have a really fucking good, nice website. You just do. It has to be easy to use, and it has to look really fucking good. You have to have really good systems. If people are dropping a lot of money, they don't want to have to fuck around, right? The more money you drop, the less people want to have to fuck around. They want to be able to easily pay you. They want to be able to easily understand what the fuck you do. They want it to be clean, bold, beautiful, crisp, right? The more you get into the luxury side of things, it's actually usually going to be more minimalistic in design features, right? Think about going into stores at the mall. If you go into Walmart, there's shit everywhere. I mean, like just like stuff piled on piled on piled. There's lots of options. It's not like cohesive and beautiful. You go into a more luxury store and there's like 10 things available, and it's like more space, and it's more like quiet, and there's music, and there's like more people to help you. You get your little bottle of water when you're shopping for your shit. I'm not saying one is better than the other. I'm saying it's a different experience, and every time somebody interacts with you and your brand, it's an experience. So keep this in mind. Every email they get, every social media post they see, every time they have an experience like you guys have an experience now. I could have done this video, all of this, on my webcam in my office. I could have had a cluttered background and a video on a webcam and delivered exactly the same thing. But that's not my brand, right? I chose to rip apart my office, paint a beautiful wall, make sure that I do this on my actual good camera to import it. I could have used my cell phone, right? These are all choices I made because my brand fucking matters and the cohesion in my brand matters. This is why I have an actual CRM software that sends my contracts, that sends your invoices, everything, because I want it to be cohesive. I don't want you to be like me sending you something from like my Stephanie@gmail account. No, like it matters to me that all of it works together. I want you to know when you interact with my brand that I give a humongous shit, like a very big, gigantic fuck about you. The biggest of all the fucks I give about you, right? And your experience. That's part of my brand. And when you're thinking about your brand, you have to think of it as way more than just colors and fonts. You have to think, where do I sit in the market? Where do I want to sit in the market? So maybe right now you're sitting like here and you want to be here, or you're sitting here and you want to be here. How are we going to make that transition? That is something absolutely bring into our Voxer chat and we can talk about. But when we're going through all of this, I want you to think about, where do I sit in the market, right? Where do I want to sit in the market? Like, am I shifting, or am I staying where like maybe you're happy exactly where you are? Do I feel like I have good cohesion? Like, do the colors, the font, does it all make sense right now? Or when I look, does it kind of look frazzled? And if you don't know, ask one of us to look, right? You can pop your social media or your website into our Voxer chat and we can look, be like, does it look cohesive? Does it not? So your things that should be cohesive is anything that the average person can find from you. So if they Google you and your name and your brand, what do they find? Does it all kind of flow? So those are things that we're going to be looking at today. Again, we are not going to fix every single thing. We're going to make a database of shit that needs to change, and then we're going to tackle it one thing at a time. We are not going into overwhelm here. Listen to me. We are not, okay? If I sense you doing that in the Voxer, I'm going to call you out. Because again, my brand is all about making sure it actually fucking works for you, and that you are successful, and that you don't burn yourself out on some program and then be like, why did I do that? Okay? We're here for long-term change. All right, the homework you have for this week. I want you to make a mood board. I love me a good fucking mood board. Okay, so we're going to go on Pinterest. We're going to type in the aesthetic of your brand. So for mine, it'd be like moody aesthetic, powerful aesthetic, bold aesthetic, stuff like that. And then I'm going to just start collecting pictures that appeal to you through the lens of your brand, and then refine them, right? So put as many as you want on there at first, and then go through and pick out your favorite 5 or 10, and then we're going to put it together, and then you're going to share it with the group so we can see, okay, what is the mood board of your brand? And then we're going to take in a couple small things like the colors and your logo and see, do they match? And if not, they go on the list. Okay, doesn't mean we're getting new shit today. It means it goes on the list. Yes, it matches, great. No, it doesn't. It's on the list of things we tackle during our set time when we tackle things. We're not going into overwhelm today. I also really, really, really want you to come into the group and just voice note, riff out, or type if that's easier for you. What is like the feels of the brand? Like, how do you want people to feel? And then when you have your like little mood board and your colors, then we can be like, okay, does this match? No. Okay, then maybe it's just something that appeals to you. You know, like I also love like the moody aesthetic of like, you know, like rainforest girl, like, you know, plants and shit like that. It doesn't necessarily go with my brand, but it's something I like. Remember, not everything that goes with your brand is, not everything you like is inside your brand. So we can just take that little piece of you. That's great. We're going to put it right here because it's not part of this business. Okay. So your homework this week, the mood board, the colors, and then you're going to bring it into the group and we're going to look at, does your current stuff match this or not match this? It doesn't mean we're tackling it. We're just going to take inventory. Okay. I'll see you in Voxer. You're doing really